And for that, this is not a Jewish painting at all. What Rembrandt is doing here is he is taking Rembrandt is taking the most boring people in all of Amsterdam and making them exciting. That's what Rembrandt is doing. The Staalmeester's job, if you see what's on the table that's over there, what's actually on their table. Can anyone identify what those things are? That's a tapestry or a rug. Their job is to test the quality of tapestries and rugs. Their quality control for Amsterdam. That's what they own. Okay? And their job is to do that. They're quality control men appointed, I'm quoting here, annually by the burgomasters to ensure that the blue and black cloth made in the city was well enough made and dyed to pass its certification, indicated with a lead seal attached to the sample. That's their job.
Nothing to do with cigars.
Nothing to do with cigars at all. And what he's doing here is basically, he's taking a bunch of people who look exactly the same, and he's showing individuality. In other words, the interest in Rembrandt in depicting different aspects of civic life, like in the Night Watch, is to show how you could see the same individuals. So looks can be deceiving, because on the one hand, these people look like a bunch of yeshivish people, right? And it's hard with that to find individuality. It's like, I don't know if you remember that there was this big event called the Yeshivish, the Asifa, which was a gathering at City Field against the internet, right? And there was like 40,000 people there. No, it was against the internet. What? No. It was a rally against about the dangers of the internet.
Yes.
And there was a joke going around online called the top 10 tweets at the Asifa. And one of them was, lost my brother at the Asifa, last seen wearing white shirt, black pants, and glasses. Okay? So the point is, right, how do these people look all the same? But actually, these are, the very fact that all these people are in the same room working together, is Europe, what you have are two Catholics, a Remonstrant, a Calvinist, and a Mennonite. Here of all these people who seem exactly the same, but are totally, totally different over religious differences, which in other countries they are still killing each other. And because their interest is they are focused together on the most mundane thing, right, which is quality control, they're actually working together as one. And that's really, as it were, the business-like attitude, as Shama points, toward religious confession that made Amsterdam unique in Europe. And what you have here is he takes each person doing a different thing with their hands. Remember, it's arranged them doing with their hands, and thereby showing that each one is incredibly different. One of them is holding the book, and his job was to be the accountant. One of them is holding the money. One of them is standing up and looking. And so he's showing different individualities. So as he says, I'll just quote to you a little bit. So the figure on the far left is the Catholic cloth merchant Jacob van Loon, who lived at the corner of the Dam and the Kalverstraat. And as befits the figure who is much the oldest of the group, Rembrandt has him seated wearing an old-fashioned tilted slouch hat and small fallen collar, very much of the gentle patriarch. And within what was a necessarily limited range of gestures, Rembrandt also manages to extract the maximum vitality. Jochem van Neve to the right of the Voorzitter, establishing a share in the trustworthiness of the group by holding a page of the account book with his left hand. His neighbor grasping a money bag. The semi-standing figure leaning on the edge of another book on the table. The turkey rug on the table itself, sumptuously figured and colored to set off the brown, black, and white that dominate the painting. And finally, of course, there is the famous direction of the Staalmeester's gaze, which for generations led commentators into a realm of rich anecdotal fantasy. He takes the most boring people in the world, and he has them posed almost as if you startle them by coming into their room so that they are looking at you. And that's the genius of Rembrandt. You take literally the most boring people on the face of the earth and turn it into both a symbol of religious diversity and community, and also just and of intimacy. And he got this commission after the biggest failure in his life, when he painted something for the town hall, for the new town hall, the Conspiracy of Claudius Civilis, which was rejected. And here you have one of his last great masterpieces, 1660, the Staalmeesters. When you get a chance, go up close and look what Rembrandt is doing with paint here. Okay? You have to go look and see what he does with the gold, This now. This is famously known as the Jewish bride. There is no evidence whatsoever that the people in this creation of a biblical scene. Now, what biblical scene is this? We happen to know, if you take a look at the handout I gave you about the Jewish bride. Because if you take a look at that, I'm going to look at you for a second, if that's okay. The other page, right here. So everybody see, if you look at, ignore my bylines because they're reversed. But if you look at the top right of the paper that says who and what is the Jewish bride, you will see a fresco that was done by Raphael over 100 years before. And this is a fresco of the scene in Parshas Toldos, where he's and they said that she's my sister. And what happens here is that he sees that they are mitzacheh. Now, what does mitzacheh mean? The Torah does not say what mitzacheh means. One possibility is he actually found them engaging in marital relations. But the Pashut Pshat is that it just means that he saw her engaging to her in a moment of intimacy by which it was clear that they were husband and wife rather than brother and sister. So if you take a look, you'll see that on the right side of the handout, you have the fresco from Raphael. Rembrandt never went to Italy, but he had seen a print. Rembrandt owned a print of that Raphael. And if you see on the top left, that's a preparatory sketch of the Jewish bride. Now, if you want to see what Rembrandt does here with the scene, he does something totally unique. If you look on the bottom left, here you see a print of the Raphael fresco. That's a print of the Raphael fresco, and you're able to tell that originally Raphael had Avimelech seeing them. Everybody see on the top of that print? You can see Avimelech peeking at them. Right here, yeah. Everybody see Avimelech peeking at them? You can see Avimelech peeking at them. Right? Because they were trying to show the biblical story. Rembrandt is not interested in the lurid aspect of Avimelech seeing. Rembrandt is interested in what does it mean for a husband and wife to be engaging in a moment of tenderness. And so what he has done is he has cut out Avimelech. Rembrandt does that all the time. And he'll take a biblical scene that other people were painting, and he'll cut out the other people, the other people to focus on the dramatic humanity of the central figures in the story. And so he has taken a husband and wife, he's cut out Avimelech, and he's just posed the husband and wife as they are. Okay, now this painting, by the way, you're in the Rijksmuseum looking at this painting, and Rembrandt, and when Van Gogh was in the Rijksmuseum and came upon this painting, Van Gogh was so stunned by it that he said the following. He said, "I should be happy to give 10 years of my life if I could go on sitting in front of this picture for 10 days with only a dry crust of bread." That's what he says. And what you have here is husband engaging in a moment of tenderness with his wife, the wife leaning out her own hand to hold his hand, but her other hand is posed over her womb to show that the two aspects of marriage which go together are marital love and desire, but also childbirth and continuity. Here's what Simon Schama writes, and he says one very interesting thing, and then this is called Rembrandt's rough period. This is 1662. Rembrandt is painting in a rough style. If you want, I'm not an art historian, but you can go after we talk and go look up at the painting and see what he does with things like the sleeve. When it comes to the face, he's painting finely drawn, smooth paint. And then he is taking a knife and basically spackling paint in a remarkable way.
Mixed sand
to create not just sand, but another secret ingredient.
Shells?
Here it is. I will quote to you, and this is Simon Schama. He says like this. He says, what's happening here that they're showing, it's about the fertility of marriage and the blessed abundance of the woman's body. And he writes, this woman in the place of Rebecca lays her right hand on the site of her womb so that the places of procreation and of nurture are simultaneously hallowed. And she writes, so should we be surprised, writes Shama, to find that particles of egg have been discovered in beads of paint taken from the Jewish bride. The chain of life, its profound organic mystery, its vital pulse, enacted in passion and ending in abiding trust and companionship, was the subject both Rubens and Rembrandt chose to portray. No, I'll talk too loud. I'll talk softly. Okay, no problem. Chose to portray as the essence of humanity at the end of their lives, returning again and again to the dwelling places of family affection, even when in Rembrandt's case, his own household had been relentlessly depleted by sickness and
They
death.
mix the eggshells in the paint, right?
I don't know, eggshells or
Well, that's
egg,
what they
particles
used
of
to- that's what they
egg.
used to do.
Particles of egg have been found in here. And so that's what's happening in this very, very famous scene.